Welcome to the Hot Corner Show on the ISPS Radio Podcast Network with your host, Dr. Ray, the softball-playing chiropractor and the official chiropractor of ISPS, and Manuel T. Ferrero III, the commissioner of International Slow Pitch Softball. Listen to the Hot Corner Show every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on the ISPS Radio Podcast channel. Call the show at 347-637-3978 and talk sports and health topics with Dr. Ray, plus slow pitch softball from around the world with Manuel T. Ferrero III, fantasy sports, special guests, and more. Call the show now on the special guest call-in hotline at 347-637-3978. Now, bring your A game, because you're about to experience the Hot Corner.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Hello, hello. It's your host here, Dr. Ray, the softball-playing chiropractor. Want to welcome everybody into the Hot Corner here tonight. We got a great show for you, as always. So let's go through the lineup. Tonight we have a special guest, Jen Holt from We Are Warpaint. We got a couple of events to go over with our co-host. And then our health topic of the night, of course, is going to be, I don't know if you guys have seen this yet or not, but if not, you're in store for a little surprise here. Mr. Glass versus Iron Man. Why are some people able to avoid injury and others are more injury prone? And of course, then we have our sports with the sports Dwork, David Dwork from CBS 4 Miami. We got a lot to catch up. A lot happened with the Dolphins. David's been out for a couple weeks. He had his wife's birthday. He was playing hockey. He had all kinds of stuff happening, but he should be back on with us here tonight. And we just got a lot to go over. So hope you guys are ready for another great episode of the Hot Corner. Fantasy is in full swing. Baseball is over. Football, it's on. It's happening. College football is going. Tons to talk about. If you guys want to be a part of the show tonight, don't forget to call in. Our hotline is 347-637-3978. Again, for everybody out there listening, if you want to get in tonight, if you've got a question from Jen Holt from We Are Warpaint, if you got a question for Manny, if you got a question for me, go ahead and give us a call, 347-637-3978. Remember, you can always tweet us your questions as well, too, at Dr. Ray T, at ISPSO, at Manuel Ferrero with 2 R's and then 1 R at the end, and then at David Dwork, again, if you've got any of those Miami sports, especially Dolphins questions. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and keep things moving and introduce the co-host, Mr. Manuel T. Ferrero III. Manny, how you doing tonight?
Thank you, Dr. Ray. And let me tell you something, Dr. Ray. I don't know if it's because we're almost reaching our 200th episode, but man, you're getting very good. You're getting very good at this opening monologue session that you have here, Mr. David Letterman, sir.
Oh, hey, well, the opening monologue is always important. You got to catch people's attention. You got to get them going. Got to get a little laugh in there, But, hey, man, appreciate it. I'm just trying to do my best here. Hopefully everybody out there is enjoying it as much as I am.
Oh, I hear you, man. Wednesdays, it's a great, great day for me. I always look forward to Wednesday nights, man. It's, aside from obviously the weekend, it's one of my favorite days. It's, it's the hump day.
Definitely.
We're almost halfway there. We're halfway there to the weekend. So I love it. And we do the Hot Corner show here with you and David Dwork and all these special guests. I love it. I love
for
Wednesday
sure,
nights.
man. Hey, man, we're halfway there. We're just living on a prayer, right? But what's been going on since the last show, man? I've had a few things going on. What's been going on with you over there?
My brother, I have been on a little bit of some vacation and business. I went up to Tampa. I had some meetings for some volleyball. Actually, volleyball is starting up pretty soon, so be on the lookout for that. And also some ultimate frisbee, which I know a lot of you have never even heard of what ultimate frisbee is, but think of a like a hybrid sport American football with basketball, but with a frisbee. So stay tuned for that and much more from me, I guess, because I'm the one overseeing everything pretty much.
Yeah, the man that makes it all happen. Like I said, the lion who's made a lion, But, well, man, listen, I'm glad that you're getting into it. Vacation is always good, especially when you can mix in a little bit of business as well, too. Speaking about business, I want to go ahead and give a shout-out and thank Nick from nickspages.com for coming on the show last week. Again, if you guys didn't hear the show, hit that archive, go back, listen to what Nick had to say, especially if you're a business owner, because he spoke a lot about, how to get to be number one on Google, not only in your city, but in all the cities in the United States. So that was a great topic. But we got another special guest here tonight, Manny. So why don't we go ahead and take a quick break here. And when we get back, we'll be talking with Jen Holt from We Are Warpaint. We'll be right back after this.
Listen to the Hot Corner Show every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on the ISPS Radio Podcast channel. Call the show at 347-637-3978 and talk sports and health topics with Dr. Ray. Plus, slow-pitch softball from around the world with Manuel T. Ferrero III, fantasy sports, special guests, and more. Call the show now on the special guest call-in hotline at 347-637-3978. Now, bring your A game, because you're about to experience the Hot Corner.
All right. Welcome back in, everybody. And we are here right now with our special guest for the night, Miss Jen Holt. Jen, are you there? How you doing tonight?
I am. Hi, guys. I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure, of course. Another great job by Manny bringing another great special guest in for the listeners here from the Hot Corner. Why don't you go ahead, Jen, and just tell us a little bit about you and, more importantly, the reason why you're here. Tell us a little bit more about what is Warpaint.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So Warpaint is eye black in color. And I had the absolute pleasure to play for Cal State Fullerton. I was a catcher from 2000 to 2004. And in 2010, I actually went back to Cal State Fullerton to get my master's in sports psychology and biomechanics. And during that time, you gravitate to what you know, which is softball. And so I had the pleasure to hang around some really talented athletes and basically have a hand in coaching the next generation. And it was here in Southern California where the athletes on the teams that I were coaching were, taking eye black, smearing it across their faces, and then putting loose glitter on top of it and all these crazy colors. And essentially, it was at that point that We Are Warpaint was born. It was the idea that, eye black hadn't evolved beyond function. It hadn't evolved to be an expression piece, which is obviously something we as athletes and competitors are extremely in tune to. So, yeah, We Are Warpaint has been a year old, and I'm so thrilled, obviously, to be sharing it with you guys and talking about it tonight.
Awesome. Jen, this is Manny, and thank you again for coming on the show. Jen, tell us, what is your main responsibility over there at We Are Warpaint?
Oh, my gosh, I wear a lot of hats. Trust me, when I went back to get my master's, there wasn't exactly the left turn on owning a company, an eye black company in general. So it has been a crash course in everything small business from, making the product. How do you make eye black? Where do you make it? What colors do you make? What should it look like? So I literally have a hand in all of that development, and then I am the main face of getting it out there and letting, athletes as a whole know that this exists. So I have long days, just like both of you. It's just like you with volleyball and ultimate frisbee and softball. It's a lot of business and a lot of pleasure.
Well, man, I tell you what, you're speaking my language in a couple ways, in more than one way here. As far as I'm concerned, I was always, it's funny. I'll tell you a quick story. Not to take a spotlight away from We Are Warpaint, but I think it plays in perfectly with this. I remember my first time playing varsity football. My school colors, I played for Miami Palmetto. Go Panthers! A little plug right there for everybody here in Miami. But I went out to the first day of practice, and I had 2 different color sanitaries on, and it was split up by, a different wristband around my calf, and then I had the Under Armour, with all the different colors, and the only thing that I was missing was war paint. I mean, I would have loved to have some navy and some gray or something like that I could have, put under my eyes or something,
Yes.
And I'll never. I mean, I would have loved it. I mean, coach was like, "Tomos, I hope you play as good as you look, damn it." And if I had some war paint, I think I might have been able to convince him a little bit more. But
you are pulling at my heartstrings as a whole right now, because I'm exactly in the same boat as you are, which was, what existed for us at the time was, your kind of standard black. And for me, being a female and, playing at Cal State Fullerton, of course, Cal State Fullerton is well known for their baseball. And so I was a catcher, so I was always looking for ways to have that feminine, fierce combination, which is, don't get me wrong, I want to get business done, but I want to look good doing it. And trust me, the eye black that was available to me at that time, unfortunately, just wasn't conducive to sweat, running into my catcher's mask. I mean, you should have seen some of the faces when I pulled off my mask, and I was pretty much a fright when you have that running down your chin. And I'm like, I don't really think the baseball guys think this is the most attractive look at the moment. So, yeah, like you, I unfortunately fell short. Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, looking like a Ninja Turtle is one thing, but, yeah, having eye black running down your neck is not exactly the look I was going for. So
for sure. For
yeah,
sure.
So
well,
I love hearing you say that, though, because basically you're hitting everything that it took me a minute to kind of get on board and pull myself out of this kind of tunnel vision of what eye black is about. Because when the girls started to put glitter on their eye black, and I got to give a shout out to Mount Sac softball in Walnut in Southern California, these were the girls that were paving a new path for me. And I remember vividly pulling a girl's jersey aside, and I pulled her in, and I just said, "You do know the function of eye black, right?" And she just looks at me without hesitation with that little 19-year-old swag, and she goes, "Coach, it's not eye black, it's my war paint." And she walks away. And it was at that moment where I was like, oh, my goodness, this is why I dig females. A little bit of swag, a little bit of edge, and a little bit of, starting trends. Now, we never got as far as the wristband, around the calf or whatnot. But maybe that's something we can incorporate moving forward. I'm not sure. But, yeah, it was just such a beautiful moment where I realized, man, I needed a girl like that to show me there is a bigger piece to this as a whole. So, yeah, here we are.
But Jen, you just mentioned the functionality of eye black. For those of our listeners who have no clue what eye black is, why don't you explain it and what the actual function of it is?
Yeah. Oh, gosh, great question. So the idea behind eye black and the color black underneath your eyes is to reduce the glare of the sun when you obviously are playing outdoor sports. But as we kind of know it moving forward nowadays, it's become an identity piece. It's become a part of how you prepare to compete and how you choose to obviously show a certain exterior when you're competing. And so, it's this beautiful thing that started as, function. I have a problem with the sun. I have a problem with glare. What could I do to alleviate that? To, okay, how can I make this my own? How could I smear this on my face so I have a little bit more edge when I'm going up against a big competitor? And so it was just this natural step that just seemed so obvious to go, okay, if we have the function piece taken care of, great. Where's the expression piece? Why am I limiting myself to only black? Because clearly athletes and competitors are taking it beyond that function piece.
Well, I tell you what, I got another question for you, and I know that you can't give away too much information on this, but what is eye black made out of? Is it easy to take off? Because as you mentioned before, sometimes it runs, and I think that's why sometimes you see people with these pasties and these kinds of things on there too. But to me, that just gets annoying to have a sticker on the face, and when you sweat too, it just I don't really like the whole sticker thing. I did like the eye black, but as you mentioned, it can run a little bit. How does yours compare to the traditional, eye black? And is it made similarly, or do you just put different colors in there? Are there any differences at all as far as that goes?
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, thanks for asking. Yeah, you asked a lot of really great questions in there. I mean, first and foremost, when, I had this, bee in my bonnet and I was chewing on this idea that, the eye black in color felt so obvious. Why hadn't anybody done it yet? And what I realized, though, I had the absolute pleasure to play Division I, to play with, future Olympic athletes, that if I was going to put a product out initially into the environment that I adore and I love, it had to be quality first and foremost. So at that point, I just became voracious about researching information. What is eye black, right? What goes into it? What are some of the issues that I have? How could I tweak the formula in a way that makes it easy to put on, has longer staying power, has the function piece, and then is easy to come off. And what I did is I ended up working closely with a cosmetic filling company. We ended up breaking down the ingredients of eye black as a whole, and then from there we ended up playing with your main ingredients, which is just beeswax and light mineral oil, or your basic two main ingredients in any eye black that you're going to find. And then from there, for us to get color, we just add organic compounds to get the color vibrancy that we're looking for. But you got to start with a great foundation, like anything. So it was a matter of me being able to have basically a higher beeswax content in my product, so you had that easy, smooth glide that was on your skin that gave you that ability to repel sweat more efficiently, and most importantly, that it comes off of your skin and out of your uniforms easily, because at the end of the day, my demographic ranges anywhere from 8-year-olds all the way, to competitors that are still playing, slow pitch and ultimate frisbee in their 40s, and uniforms are expensive. I can't have an $8 product ruining a $100 uniform. So I worked really hard to make sure that I could check off all of those boxes, because at the end of the day, this is something that makes sense. Any 14-year-old could pick this up, find their colors, put them on, and they get it. But at the end of that, that day or that tournament, it's the parent that's going home and washing that uniform. I don't need to make their day any harder. So I had to make sure that this product not only was quality, but that it was obviously perfect to be used when competing and was easily removed when you guys were able to take off uniform in your day of being an athlete and just got to be a regular kid again. So that was important to me, and I grinded at it for about a year until we got it right. And then at that point, it was just launch time, go. How do I let everybody know that this is out there?
Now, Jen, I got two questions for you. Going back to function, the darker the shade of the color, the better it reflects the glare. And number two, what's the most popular color?
That is such great questions. You're absolutely correct that the darker the color, that's where the function piece lives. As soon as we start getting into, we have a hot pink that's really, really hot right now due to October and breast cancer awareness. We have blue, we have purple, we have orange. As soon as you start getting into those colors, unfortunately, we start to move away from the function piece and we start to be more about the expression piece, which I've seen, really interestingly enough, do really well on either side, which is I love my athletes that simply just want to order a quality black and they just kind of want to be classic. I love it. I get it. And then I have those other athletes that are definitely a bit more bold and a bit more over the top with showing their team pride and, wanting that little bit of edge when they compete. So right now we offer 8 colors. We offer 7 colors and 1 shimmer. And I didn't want to take away that glitter that these girls were doing, because there's something about girls and wanting a little bit of bling. And so I ended up working, again, with a cosmetic company to put a safe grade shimmer in the base of eye black. And so right now, it kind of depends on where you are in the country. I had the pleasure to do a really killer softball tour over the summer that lasted 6 weeks, and I ended up going to 8 different states. And when I'm in Texas, orange is huge. And when I'm in my southern states, I have a lot of red, white, and shimmer that do well. But I tell you, red does well, blue does well, black does well, pink does well. Pretty much if, you have a team, I can have a color combination. And as you guys know, look how many colors you guys have, and the ISPS and the combinations you see. It's pretty infinite. So I'm lucky that across the board it does well with each color depending on, where I ship them out to.
No, and,
man, that's
and
excellent.
I'm looking at this this picture of one of your models that we just posted on Instagram. You could use both. You know, you could use some black for the glare, and then you could use some other colors to, you know, accentuate your individual style or your team colors or whatever. I think it goes both ways. You can mix and match.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I love hearing you talk like that because exactly what Dr. Ray was talking about earlier, you know, I'm not a huge fan of the sticker eye blacks either because you're so limited to your expression piece, right? You have, you know, it might be 1 inch in, you know, width and a half an inch in height, and that's what you get. But all of our faces are different. All the different ways that you want to express yourself is different. So just like you said, I have athletes that are intensely proud about making sure that their colors are represented not only in their uniforms but on their faces. But then I also have the athletes that are just classic, and I just want a great black swipe. And it was just so nice to give the freedom of choice back to the consumer. You know, I don't need to tell you how to wear it. I don't need to tell you how thick to wear it, how thin to wear it, what combos to wear. You're going to make that choice, and you are going to define the face of this company based on how you use it. And that's been the coolest thing that I've been able to witness, just like you said, on Instagram, that we have followers adding every day and people posting pictures showing us how they do, you know, their designs, which is then impacting, you know, who knows, the next kid that follows Instagram that says, oh, I like what that girl did. I want to do it, you know? It's just been this really neat snowball effect in grassroots marketing.
Definitely. All right, Jen. Well, listen, we want to really thank you for coming on the show here tonight. You know, before we move on to the next segment here, I want you to let everybody know again where they can follow you. Tell them your website. Tell them about all that. And hey, listen, if there's ever anything new coming out with We Are Warpaint or any updates, we'd love to have you come back out on the show here. And like I said, for me, and I see a whole bunch of guys out there too. We got the sleeves from ISPS, and everybody's got all these crazy colors now in softball. So I think it's something that's pretty cool and something that could really catch on like wildfire. So let everybody know where they can find more out about We Are Warpaint and where they can follow you on social media.
Yeah, so you can find us at wearewarpaint.com, and it is We Are Warpaint for Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Periscope. We Are Warpaint everything. And just to let everybody know, I believe that you guys are also selling it on your site at ISPS with a little bit of discount, so definitely go check that out there. But if you want to come directly to the website, we also have free shipping always to anybody that buys our product. So I hope everybody enjoys, and I so appreciate you guys taking the time to chat with me today.
100%, Jen. Again, thanks for coming on. And hey, listen, like I said, hopefully we'll be talking to you soon because it sounds like you're always innovating and you're always coming up with some new things. So again, thanks for coming on here. And we're going to go ahead and take a quick break right here. And when we get back, we're going to have a quick update with some of the ISPS news and some of the upcoming tournaments. And of course, the famous joke of the week.
Listen in to Dr. Ray and Manuel T. Ferrero III each and every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on the International Slow Pitch Softball Radio Podcast channel at ISPSradio.com.
And thank you very much to Jen Holt from We Are Warpaint, and thank you, Dr. Ray, for this quick segment for the ISPS event. This weekend we have a 40 and over senior men's division softball tournament over at Coconut Creek, Florida, at Tradewind Park, and also a men's lower division at the same park. Then our next tournament is the ISPS World Championships, which I believe we have close to or more than 50 teams already signed up for that. That's November 6th through the 8th at Mills Pond Softball Complex in Fort Lauderdale. Also, that same weekend in Phoenix, Arizona, we are having the 5th annual Johnny Garcia Memorial Tournament at Esteban Park in Phoenix, Arizona, for the western side of the ISPS nation. And then down at the Keys on November 14th in Tavernier, Florida, in the Florida Keys at Harry Harris Park, we're having a Super Z softball tournament, Hit My Stick, powered by Louisville Slugger. And Dr. Ray, are you ready for this week's joke of the week?
I'm always ready, man. Hit me with it.
All right. Dr. Ray, is there a softball in heaven? Two old women have been best friends for years, and they both lived to their early 90s. When one of them suddenly falls deathly ill, her friend comes to visit her at her bedside, and they're reminiscing about their long friendship. When the dying woman's friend asks, "Listen, when you die, do me a favor. I want to know if there's softball in heaven." The dying woman said, "We've been friends for years. This I'll do for you." And then she dies. A couple of days later, her surviving friend is sleeping when she hears her friend's voice. The voice says, "I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. The good news is that there is softball in heaven. The bad news is you're pitching on Wednesday."
You're on the team. The bad news is you just made the roster. Ding! Oh, man, that was a good one right there. That was a good one. You see, that's what it's all about. You build it up, you hit them with the punchline.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Thank you to My Town Tutors. Check them out, mytowntutors.com. They have the best softball jokes of all time. So thank you, Dr. Ray, for that quick little segment. Do you want to go to a commercial before we go to the health topic?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, why don't we go ahead and take a quick commercial break here, and we'll get into the health topic brought to you by Frontier Spine and Healthcare.
Frontier Spine and Healthcare brings you the cutting edge in healthcare with all the newest research and techniques in natural medicine. Although many people share the same symptoms, they all have them for different reasons. Using thorough physical examination and the newest technology in diagnostic testing, we can truly discover why you have the symptoms you do. Remember that good doctors know what you have, but great doctors know why. Call 786-353-HEAL or click www.353heal.com to schedule your appointment and experience the future of medicine today. Predictive, preventive, and personalized. Frontier Spine and Healthcare. Area code 786-353-HEAL or www.353heal.com.
Alrighty, and we are back, and it is time for my favorite subject, and that is the health topic. So tonight we're going to be talking about something that, you know, especially in the sports world, we see literally all the time. I mean, there's some guys, you know, you stay away from them in fantasy. There's some guys that, you know, you just like, oh, man, this guy's so good if he can stay healthy, you know. So there's the Glass Man and the Iron Man, right? So Mr. Glass, these are guys like, well, you know, let's take a look right now. So, for example, Giancarlo Stanton, right here in Miami. Awesome athlete. Guy's amazing with the community, all kinds of stuff. One of the best players, young player, huge future ahead of him. Everything, you know, but he has yet to play, I think, over 120 games in a season or something like that. I mean, it's like he's hurt every year somehow, some way. There's something that goes wrong. You know, and then let's take a little jet ride up to Chicago, where I was this past weekend. We got Derrick Rose. We got another guy who's seems like he's always injured, you know. It's the knee, it's the face, it's the this, it's the that, you know. It's the bone, it's this, you know, there's always injuries that are happening, you know. And then let's go back to a former Marlin, Josh Johnson, you know. Awesome pitcher, but hurt every single year, you know. It's like you draft Josh Johnson, you get a complete game shutout the first week of the season. You're like, all right, I made a great decision, and then he's hurt for the whole rest of the year, right? So why does this happen where there's some guys that, you know, never miss a game? Like, you know, big shout out actually to Chris Myers, who played center for the Houston Texans, had a great career over there, just retired this past year, but he was the center on my high school football team as well, too, and he never missed a game, never missed a practice. I don't think he missed a game almost the entire NFL career that he had. So why are there some guys don't get hurt? Why is there some guys where you look at them and it'll look like their knee will get turned around and those guys are right back in there and they're right back at it? Calvin Johnson, why is he always hurt? What's going on with these guys? So there's a couple things. Number one, and this is something that is just kind of starting to come out, but there's actually some genetics that are starting to be tied into what's going on with people that have frequent injuries. As a matter of fact, one of these factors is the production of collagen. Now, collagen is the main component of tendons and ligaments, but it also is what gives bones their strength. So certain people do not make collagen as efficiently as other people based on their genetics. So there's actually a gene, and you guys have heard me talk about these gene SNPs before. This gene SNP called the COL1A1 was represented in a large group of athletes who suffered traumatic ACL injuries. Those who had torn their ACL were actually 4 times as likely as the uninjured study subjects to have a blood relative who had the same injury, suggesting that the genetics were somewhat responsible for this. And this is a study actually that was published in the British Journal of Sports Medicine in 2009. All right, and there's been other studies on this as well too that have shown that collagen production has been decreased in people who are getting more often injured. Even soft tissue injuries have been associated with this, like Achilles tendon ruptures. Why does it look like all of a sudden some guy just gets, sniped, and all of a sudden he goes down? It's kind of a crazy thing, but they've actually narrowed it down to the TT genotype of the COL1A1 gene. So, believe it or not, this is actually something that we can test for in my office using 23andme.com. We can run and we can get a whole panel of all the different genes. We can actually break down your whole entire genome, and as new information about what these genes actually do and what they represent come out, we can continue to deliver this type of information to you guys. So if you have multiple soft tissue injuries, tendon injuries, ligament injuries, there's a chance that you may have the COL1A1 gene, and if that's the case, there's a lot that can actually be done in order to help with this. Now, again, collagen being part of muscle, tendon, ligament, bone, this is everything that you can pretty much injure, in a sport-related activity. So if you do have this gene, and there's other factors as well too, like how well you handle sugar, how much inflammation is going on in the body, mentally, once you suffer one of these injuries, there's a lot that can go into that, and we're going to touch on that next. But when it comes to collagen, there's a lot that can be done for this. So vitamin C helps with collagen production. There's also some other natural supplements. Hyaluronic acid, shark cartilage is actually something that has been shown to increase collagen as well too. But more importantly, it's actually regulating inflammation on a cellular level. So there's these NLOX receptors and inhibitors and chemo kind of signalers within the body, and they basically tell us whether to be inflammatory or anti-inflammatory. So just to give you guys an idea, if I were to say a burger and fries versus, grilled fish and a salad with olive oil, which one, Manny, would you think would be inflammatory, and which one do you think would be anti-inflammatory?
Anti-inflammatory, the salad, and the other one is, right?
Exactly. So the salad and the fish, because the fish have good fats, there's low amounts of sugar. So what causes inflammation in the body? Bad fats and simple sugars. So these things cause inflammation as well as toxins, of course. All right. So inflammation is something that's regulated on a cellular level, and people's genetics also change with to a certain degree as far as how much inflammation they express as well too. So those people that you see and it's just like, man, they look way older than they really are. Those people do not handle stress well. They don't build collagen well. They don't regulate inflammation well, and these people probably have a higher injury probability when it comes to a sports-related activity. So again, these are all things that can be done as far as determining if you've got a kid and you want to know if he's got more of a chance to get injured. We can test for this COL1A1 gene, and then we can administer collagen, shark cartilage, methylsulfonyl-sulfonamine. There's multiple things that can be done in order to help with collagen production and making sure that we can help those genes express as healthily as they can. Now, another side of this, okay, besides what's happening on a cellular level, is also, I think, a mental component. And Manny and I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier in the conversation. But, Manny, why don't you go ahead and talk about your kind of point of view here on what happens with athletes once they suffer one of these injuries?
I think it gets to their head. Let's take, for instance, let's say you injure one of your lower extremities, one of your legs, make it your knee or your ankle or anything. You're not going to make cuts like you used to, especially on that side or that leg. You're going to overcompensate or undercompensate, and that, I think, causes problems. Maybe on that same side, maybe in another side, or you're not going as hard. You might get, injured easier. Who knows? I just think it's all, not all of it, but a majority of it is mental.
And I agree with you completely. When you start to think too much, that's normally when things go wrong. I've had multiple people tell me, when it comes to playing sports, don't think about it because you're going to mess it up. Just, you practice with your mind, you play with your heart. That was actually on the back of my shirt in baseball over there at Palmetto. You practice with your mind and you play with your heart, because if you do it over and over in practice and you think about it in practice, when it comes to game time, it just happens. Like, for example, this weekend, and this has nothing to do with sports, but I was doing a practical and I did a head and neck exam on a patient. And, the proctor for the examination asked me, well, if the tongue deviates to the left, what does that mean when you're testing the cranial nerves? And I was like, oh, well, it's the hypoglossal nerve. And I don't remember studying that. It just came to my mind. It was just years and years of just the same thing over and over and learning it and studying it and practicing it. And when it was time, I needed it. And it's the same thing. But a lot of these athletes that suffer these, really significant traumatic injuries, like a Kevin Ware, he just landed and his leg broke through his skin. That's a traumatic injury. I would be scared to jump and land every single time after that too. And so you start to change the way you do things. And I think that can really have a big change on your ability to get injured, unfortunately. So there's a couple things. It's never just one thing, and that's the way that I always tell my patients as well too. It's never just one thing. It's usually a multifactorial issue. And, when it comes to this, we can see that there's actually some genetic contributing factors and also possibly some mental factors, as Manny mentioned. So, when it comes to Mr. Glass versus the Iron Man, the Iron Man's probably got a little bit better of a genetic setup, but that doesn't mean that there isn't anything that you can't do about it. And that's the great thing about precision medicine and testing genetics, where there's so many things that we can see. But the biggest thing is, guys, remember, whatever the genetics say, don't mean that you have to end up that way. If everybody in your family has heart disease, it does not mean that you have to get heart disease, unless you do everything those family members did as well too. So again, some people can get away with a little bit more. Some people don't have that luxury, but understanding what your body does on a cellular level is something that we can help you out with, and something that we can help you not only predict but also prevent these types of injuries and situations from happening. So I'm glad we got to talk about this a little bit tonight. We still got a whole bunch to get to here on the show. So why don't we go ahead and take a quick break right here. And when we get back, we can get on the line with our sports dork, and we can start to talk a little bit of NFL, Dolphins, Heat are coming up. They're starting to do some fantasy football. We got so much to talk about. We'll be right back in just a minute.
Frontier Spine and Healthcare brings you the cutting edge in healthcare with all the newest research and techniques in natural medicine. Although many people share the same symptoms, They all have them for different reasons. Using thorough physical examination and the newest technology in diagnostic testing, we can truly discover why you have the symptoms you do. Remember that good doctors know what you have, but great doctors know why. Call 786-353-HEAL or click www.353heal.com to schedule your appointment and experience the future of medicine today. Predictive, preventive, and personalized. Frontier Spine and Healthcare. Area code 786-353-HEAL or www.353heal.com.
And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. It's sports with the Sports Dwork. Live right now on the ISPS Radio Network. With sports news and entertainment for all you dworks out there. Follow him on Twitter at David Dwork and call the show now at 347-637-3978 and ask the Dwork anything. Nothing's off topic. And now, the Sports Dwork, David Dwork.
All right, and we are back in the game here. And we should have David with us. Dave, you there, my man?
Yes, I am here.
I'm going to start calling
him,
him
man. I'm going to start calling You know what, man? It feels like we're back like to our regular show right now. Everything is like right in the world again. It's been a couple weeks. We missed you, my man. How was everything? You had some fun with your wife's birthday and everything?
Yeah, man. It's been a fun couple of weeks. I had the wife's birthday. My cousin got married, so we went up to North Florida. So we've been busy, but yeah, it's been good, man. And after the Dolphins game last week, everything's really good.
Yeah, 100%, man. What a crazy debut for Mr. Dan Campbell. I mean, that was just awesome. What's your kind of biggest takeaway? I mean, what do you think was the biggest contributing factor to that? Was it him firing everybody up? I mean, what do you think?
I mean, him firing everybody up and getting everybody motivated and ready to, start the opening kickoff 150 miles per hour. I mean, that's certainly a big factor. But I think also, as much as what he did to pump up the players is good, you have to also keep in mind what him and his, revamped coaching staff did in that game. They got back to the basics with everything, and it's amazing how well they did with just doing that. You had Deion Sims back, which was big, because now you got both tight ends out there helping blocking. The run game got going, which, if we saw Lamar Miller in the preseason and during training camp, you saw that he's looking more explosive than ever, which was, it just befuddled me why they weren't giving him the ball. So you got Miller getting 19 carries. The defensive line was let loose, not having to worry about any silly, blocking schemes or trying to be in this spot at this time. Just forget all that crap and run after the quarterback. Do what you were brought up playing football doing. Don't worry about where you need to be, or you got to, stunt behind this guy or do whatever. And, it really showed. They still have a couple weaknesses. The secondary is, it needs some help. But the talent on the defensive line can help to keep away from the secondary, not give the quarterback enough time to get the ball out there. So, we saw a very nice glimpse of what this team can be. So now the question is going to be, can it last? Will, the players continue to be this pumped up from Dan Campbell throughout the rest of the season? Or is there going to be some kind of a drop-off, which is what Brian Billick was saying on local radio earlier today, that eventually guys go back to their true colors. So, up until we find out, we're not going to know. But for the time being, it was great to see last week, and I think we're going to see a very similar effort this week against the Texans, who the Dolphins have never beat. And Miami's really going to want to get back to 500 before they go into that crazy road gauntlet 3 games that are coming up. So, I'm excited to see what happens on Sunday.
So are we beating the Texans on Sunday or what?
They've really never beat the Texans?
No, 0-7 against the Texans all time.
Wow, man, that's crazy. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and the first few of those losses were by I think the first 4 or 5 losses were by a combined total of 6 points. It was some crazy number where every game that we were playing against them was a close nail-biting game that they just managed to come out on top at the end. But I think this is the week that Miami finally gets in the win column. Houston has not looked very good this year, constantly alternating between Brian Hoyer and Ryan Mallett. Hoyer looked good last week after stealing Mallett's job the week before when he got injured for one play. That was one of the craziest things I ever saw. The guy gets hurt, goes out for one play, and loses the starting quarterback job. So there's a lot going on in Houston right now. They still have a crazy D-line with J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney and Vince Wilfork. So, they're going to provide a test. Miami's going to have to play, just as well as they did against the Titans. But I think that they will do that. And I think today, or on Sunday rather, Miami gets off the schneid against these stingy Texans.
Yeah, I believe it, man. The only bright spot right now in Houston, I think, is DeAndre Hopkins. Arian Foster's been solid since he came back as well too, but man, it is rough over there. So, but then again, I mean, we were projected to beat a lot of people coming up to this point. I mean, we're supposed to be almost undefeated at this point. So, hopefully Dan Campbell will, keep the fire going. I mean, what a crazy just turnaround by our defensive line. Did we quadruple our sack output for the whole entire year in just one game?
I don't know the correct word for what they did to their sack total. I know they had 1 coming in and they had 7 going out. So whatever the sticks version of quadruple is what they did. It was great to see.
I think the word for that is sextuple, as a matter of fact.
I love that. The Dolphins sextupled their sack total. That just sounds amazing. I love that. I hope that's what it is.
That's just great, man. We definitely sextupled our sack total. That's great, man. All right. Well, I'm extremely happy about that. Now, we're all tied up here on our Thursday night little duo here. So why don't we get to this a little bit early? What are your guys' projections here for our Thursday night game this week?
So what do we got? San Francisco, Seattle? Is that what it is?
I believe so.
Yeah. I'll kick it off, and I'm going with Seattle for sure. That's a team that is playing with a huge chip on its shoulder right now. They're trying to bounce back from that tough start. Looked like they were on a nice little run, and then last week the way that they lost at home to the Carolina Panthers with that last-minute long touchdown to Greg Olsen. They're going to come out fired up, and San Francisco, they've looked good, maybe like a fifth of the season if we're going to keep with these fractional numbers and funny things like that. So I'm definitely going with the Seahawks. I'd be shocked if San Francisco wins. But then again, last week the Saints beat the undefeated Falcons, so anything can happen. But I'm sticking with the Seahawks.
Yeah, we were all wrong about that one, and I'm going to go ahead and jump in before Manny does so that I can go ahead and put him in a tough position. But I'm going to go ahead and pick Seattle as well, too, here. And hopefully Manny will, be man enough to pick, the 49ers here. Because last week I told him, hey, man, go against the grain. Do it. He could have been winning right now. But, but he didn't. So let's see what Manny does this week. Manny, who are you going for?
I'm going for Seattle, bro. What's wrong with you?
Oh, of course. Of course you are.
Of course. I'm going to be safe. I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to be smart about this. And besides, San Francisco's not going to beat Seattle tomorrow. Come on.
Yeah, nobody outside of the middle of California is going to be pitching San Francisco. And they show that map of the United States, and they have one color for Seattle and one color for San Francisco. It's going to be all blue or green or whatever Seattle color they use. Nobody's going to pick San Francisco. They've looked awful.
Yeah, I can believe that. Go ahead, Manny. What were you saying?
Sorry to interrupt you, Dr. Ray, but I was
no problem.
I was gonna ask David, since we haven't spoken to him, what did he think about the UM-FSU game?
Oh, man. It was a fun game to watch for sure. It was nice to see the Canes competing and, being right there with the lead against the FSU team. And, they're not as good as they were the last couple of years with Jameis Winston. Still a really good team. So, it's nice to see Miami, play right there with them. It sucks that they did what they always do, which is blow it. But, as I'm saying this, I'm just thinking to myself, they're always, right there. Or, they're always getting that moral victory, and I'm just so tired of that, though. I mean, I'm sure Manny agrees with me. It's like I'm over this. I think it's pretty clear that the Canes aren't going to go anywhere with Al Golden and Mark D'Onofrio and James Coley and that staff. So, I think it's time to clean house before guys, really start shying away from the U.
Yeah, man, I wish we would have gotten, demolished by like 30 or 40 points, man, instead of losing by just 5 because, that just buys Al Golden a few more games here and there. You know what I mean? Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, listen, last time, we all asked for somebody to get fired. It happened the next week. So who knows? Maybe Miami will blow it this week, and who knows what'll happen. But yeah, man, I'm telling you, it seems like we're always predicting the future here on the Hot Corner. Last time we asked for the Philbin firing, and literally it was the next week. So we'll see what happens there. But I would like to see Al Golden stay at the U as long as possible.
Yeah, of course you would.
Yeah, of course.
No, I'm just kidding. Actually, listen, I am actually a UM fan 100% because what do I love more than an FSU matchup is 2 Miami FSU matchups. And how great would it be to see those guys playing in the ACC championship every single year? I mean, it would just be amazing. You have a rematch. You won the battle, but we won the war, this and that. I mean, it used to be that the winner of the UM-FSU game was in the national championship, and now it's like, oh, well, we don't even get college game day was in Utah this week. That week. That's just despicable to me, man. So I'm tired of it, too. I would like to see the U come back to relevance, as a fan of the rivalry more than anything. I think it's one of the best rivalries around, and it's just almost not even relevant anymore. So hopefully we can make some changes there in the future there. I'd love to see that more than anything. But while we're on the fantasy subject, why don't we go ahead and talk about that a little bit? Manny, you put a little bit of a hurting on me last week, my friend. Now, I actually forgot to check my lineup last week, but it's no excuse. You would have beat me anyway. You would have beat me anyway. The only guy, I don't know. I had Greg Olson with 28 points on the bench and LaShawn McCoy with 17 on the bench. And, I had Owen Daniels in there with 4 and, I had Chris Johnson in there with 5 who, I definitely would have made a change. But you scored 150. So you beat me by, 53 points. I don't think that I would have been able to make that up. Even with the amount of points that I had on the bench. So great week by you, man. And you picked up Brian Hoyer and started him, and you got 30 points. I mean, Manny, what were you thinking when you started Brian Hoyer? That's what I want to know.
What do you mean? What was I thinking, bro? I was looking for a replacement for Taylor, who had just gone down. Ben Roethlisberger is on my bench. He's hurt. So I was scrambling. Oh, Hoyer's available. All right, let's put in Hoyer. There you go. Here you go, kid. Knock him down. And boom, 30 points.
So funny. Sorry to cut you off, Dr. Ray. Manny, I have the same situation on my team, bro. I've got Roethlisberger, I had Tyrod Taylor, and I was so screwed last week that I had to play with no tight end. Just because I got Roethlisberger and Dez Bryant sitting on my bench, can't drop them, can't drop whoever was on a bye week last week, I can't remember. I started Karchandrick West, which, that turned out to go great too. So it's I was just snake-bitten so bad last week. But, Manny, it's nice. We have the same issues, bro, and yet you won because you picked up Brian Hoyer, so go figure.
Yeah, that would have not been my top pick. But I guess when you're getting down to the third string quarterback, sometimes you got to do what you got to do there. So good job, Manny, man. Kudos to you, and a nice win last week. The league is really starting to kind of take some shape here, and I don't like the shape of it. I'm in the bottom half here. I'm sitting there at 2-4 right now. In 10th place in my own listener league. I mean, come on, what the heck is going on here? But I will say that it's still pretty early in the season. We still got a lot of time left. There's 3 teams at 2-4. We got 4 teams at 3-3. We got 2 teams at 4-2 and 2 at 5-1. And then, of course, we've got the guy who drafted 4 quarterbacks in the first 6 rounds at 0-6. So, you know, that's not a surprise to many to many people. But I think the biggest surprise right now is that Manny only has 5 moves. Manny, talk to me about this, man. What's going on? You're not like shaking down your lineup every week. What's changed?
I can't. I got too many non-droppable guys. I can't be messing around. It's a different animal, Dr. Ray. This isn't baseball. Baseball's long. Fantasy football, you rely a lot on your draft, man. So you pick your draft and you go with it. You just pick up here and there, you release here and there, but you got to stay with your core.
Gotcha. Yeah, man, that's the tough part about football. Like right now, maybe you guys can give me some advice here. This is my big money league, and I got to try to figure out what to do here. I only get 15 moves for the whole entire year, and I've already got 11 moves. So I don't want to make too many more roster issues, because if I make it to the playoffs, and it looks like I am right now, I'm in 5th place, but I've got the most points scored in the whole entire league. I've really had people I'm always like the second highest scorer, and I just happen to be playing the guy scoring the highest. But that luck generally tends to even out. But I got to make a move here, because I had McManus and Denver, and both are on bye this week. So I picked up Atlanta for my defense, and I dropped Boobie Dixon, who was filling in for LaShawn McCoy, who's healthy now. But on the bench right now, I've got Emmanuel Sanders, Chris Johnson, Delaney Walker, Devontae Adams, and Jameis Winston. Now, this is also a keeper league, so I don't really know what to do here, who to drop for my kicker. I mean, I guess I could just drop McManus, but that guy is kicking for Denver, who is, kicking a bunch of field goals, and the air is thin up there, and you get more points for longer field goals. So I don't know if I should just put in a waiver claim on him next week. What would you guys do?
What's your record?
Record's 3-3 right now.
You're 3-3. Forget about it. Start playing FanDuel and fantasy DraftKings.
Well, my man, I'm in 5th place here. I'm actually, I've got, like I said, more points than almost everybody in the league. So, and there's nobody undefeated in this league. So I'm only 2 games out of first place here. And like I said, my team is always scoring really high. So I'm definitely in this one. And this is the league that it's like impossible for me to ever do well in. So I'm excited about it. I had 2 keepers really late in the draft, Emmanuel Sanders and DeAndre Hopkins, and they've both been playing really well for me so far this year. So I'm excited about it. But I'm thinking I'm probably just going to go ahead and drop McManus and see if I can put in a claim on him next week. But there's not a great kicker out there. Why don't you guys tell me what you guys think about these kickers? Because as far as kicker goes, it's a big deal, man. Kickers can make or break you, man. I got guys here. Let's see who's got the most points so far. Robbie Gould, but he's on bye this week. Cairo Santos from KC. Chandler Catanzaro. Did Arizona already have their bye week? I don't remember that now.
I don't think they have.
See, that's the thing. I don't want to pick up another. I don't want to have to make another move for a kicker. I've only got 4 moves left. I'm running low. Oh, man. Oh, you know what? New Orleans had their bye week already, right?
No, David.
Nope.
I didn't study for this test, man.
You guys got to know the answers here.
While Dr. Ray is searching for a kicker, David, what do you think about FanDuel, man? The other day I witnessed in front of my face someone win a few $1,000s on like the last play of a game, and he had only bet like a couple of bucks. What do you think about FanDuel and all these fantasy DraftKings and like these quick one-day games or week games? Are you into that?
I'm just starting to like really pay attention to it. Like in the last few months, I've been monitoring it. I've been talking to a lot of people about it. I'm like trying to gather as much information before I finally put some of my own money down. But I mean, I get the appeal of it. You can play for $1, or you can play for $20. It's really up to you. And even the guys who play for $1, I mean, it's like you're not just entering a game against like a 12-team league. You're going into a game with like hundreds or thousands of people. So, you know, even though you're putting in $1, if you end up finishing first and having the most points, you could win, you know, a decent chunk of change. So, you know, I definitely get the appeal. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like when the poker boom first started and everybody was going on the poker website and playing all the different money sit and goes and stuff like that. So, you know, I definitely see why so many people are into it. You know, and I don't know if you guys heard about the lawsuit where like some of their employees were doing some insider stuff. I believe that they were using some kind of program to put like way more entries in than anybody else, and like I believe there was some swapping of information. So now they're getting sued by a bunch of people who were playing who were pissed off that they got cheated, and the lawsuit was filed here in Miami. So it's like, oof. You know, I wonder if that's going to have any kind of impact on what's going on with these leagues, you know, becoming a huge thing now.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, my whole thing is, you know, I think it's time to get in there. It's time to get in there. Yeah, it's time to get in there now. I mean, I think because, I mean, literally everywhere that I look is FanDuel. Everywhere that I look is DraftKings. I mean, it's all over everything. I think Major League Baseball even owns a little part of DraftKings or FanDuel, one of them. Either way, but I did hear about that, and I saw that they did outlaw their employees from playing on the competitor sites. So, like, there was guys from FanDuel playing on DraftKings and vice versa, and winning some money, apparently, as you mentioned, and then releasing information early and that kind of stuff. So, you know, as shady as that is, I think that, man, if you can, you know, it's kind of like the stock market, you know, it's a little bit of luck and it's a little bit of, you know, foreshadowing and knowing a little bit about matchups and stuff. But, hey, man, maybe we can have a daily fantasy, a little DFS segment here as well, too, and talk about what could be some good picks for the week coming up, because I'm thinking I'm going to start to get into that a little bit as well, too. Maybe we can do a daily fantasy listeners league here again on the Hot Corner as well, too. Again, all just ideas. Things always being born here on the Hot Corner. But, David, why don't you give us, before we wrap things up here, we only got actually, I think we're already over, but let's go ahead and keep it moving. Why don't you give us something to look for this week in the game with the Finns? What's your, you know, what are you going to be watching this week to see, you know, what kind of a change the Dolphins have made so far with the coaching difference?
I'm going to be watching the lines. I'm going to be watching the O-line and the D-line, and I want to see if Miami's going to continue to try to pound the rock, and I want to see how the O-line with the tight ends, I want to see how all the blocking goes, and, you know, see if they can maintain, because like I was saying earlier, they have such a test against that Texans defensive line. And their front seven is no joke. So that's definitely an intriguing battle. And then on the other side, you know, are we going to see more of what we saw last week? Is the defensive line going to dominate and get 4, 5, 6 sacks? Is Cameron Wake going to look like the guy who won Defensive Player of the Month in 2012, or is he going to look like the guy who had, you know, 2 tackles through the first 4 games? And I feel like that's where the game's going to be won or lost with the Dolphins, is if the O-line plays well, they run the ball, protect Tannehill, the offense is going to move just like it did in Tennessee. And if the D-line can get that same kind of pressure, then they're going to be in Hoyer's face. Hoyer is not a veteran, a savvy vet.
Now, David, before we let you go, I want to quickly touch on the Heat. They're about to play in about countdown to tip-off on ESPN. It's 6 minutes, 20 seconds. And you wrote about it on your Dwork on Sports, which actually came out today. Check it out on the CBSLocal.com Miami Sports website, Dwork on Sports preseason Heat reality check. Why don't you touch a little bit about what you saw with the Heat and what you expect from them today and for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, basically I was just thinking about how everybody has been so pumped up about the Heat, and, you know, people are expecting a great season, and the Heat are going to step back into that, you know, top realm of the Eastern Conference, and they have this amazing-looking roster. And, you know, I started thinking about it a little bit more, and I was thinking about things like how they're relying so much on a bench that has really not been very proven, relying on guys like Gerald Green, who we're hoping he looks like he did a couple of years ago and not so much like he did last year. You know, the backup guards, it's Mario Chalmers, who Heat fans have wanted to punch their couches over him for years, or Tyler Johnson going to step up? What's Amari Stoudemire's role going to be? And then you've also got guys coming into camp out of shape and injured, like Hassan Whiteside and Goran Dragic, two members of the amazing starting five that the Heat are going to be putting out. Dragic has been really huffing and puffing trying to get back in shape because instead of training during the off season, he decided to just kick it at home with his wife, who's having a baby. So for the first time in his career, this guy spent the summer not really doing anything, and now he's suffering for it. And then Whiteside gets the calf injury. He misses training camp, misses the first 4 preseason games. He's clearly not going to be in the same kind of game shape as the rest of his teammates. So right off the bat, you got 2 of your starting 5 that could be coming into the season at much less than 100%. And, there was just a couple of other things that I was looking at. And basically my thing was the Heat definitely have potential to be, a top 2 or 3 team in the Eastern Conference this year. But you've got to make sure that a lot of things go your way. You got to make sure that the bench is going to be able to provide those quality minutes. You got to be able to count on Wade not missing more than, his usual, hopefully 15, no more than 20 games. Bosh not getting hurt. Luol Deng, being just as consistent as he was with the defense last year. Now, everything certainly can happen, and I'm hoping that it does. But I'm basically just temper your expectations. Be aware that there's a lot going on, and, hope for the best.
Yeah, definitely. I think tempering expectations for Miami fans, I think, is something that, needs to be done in every single sport. I mean, look at the Marlins this year. We're going to be amazing. Last place. Look at the Dolphins. We're going to have the best team. We're going to win the AFC East. Not so much. We fired our coach 5 games into the season. And now, we got the Heat. I'm not trying to be a downer here, but I think, like you said, temper the expectations. Let's not say, hey, we're going to be number 1 in the East or we're going to go to the finals. But let's say, you know what, we got a good chance here. We got a solid squad. We got some veterans. We got some young guys. We got, Justice Winslow. We got some guys here that can make something happen if they can gel. And let's be there and let's support them. But let's not get pissed when we realize, hey, maybe they're not, the best team in the East just yet. Maybe they'll grow into it. But, let's temper expectations, I think. And so that's a great point, Dave. And that's the kind of stuff that you guys can get, with the Dwork on Sports column over there. So definitely go and check them out. Why don't you go ahead and remind everybody again where they can check you out. And then we'll go ahead and we'll get this thing all wrapped up and put a bow on it, and we'll get ready for next week.
Yeah, cool, Dr. A. You can see me on cbsmiami.com. Just click on the sports page, and, all of our content will be right there. There's a link to the Dwork on Sports blog. And you can also follow me on Twitter, @DavidDwork. Recently verified. Very proud of myself for that. And, I tweet out a lot of the articles there and a lot of other South Florida sports stuff.
Awesome. Guys, check them out for sure. Manny, I know that you want to go ahead and you want to play your outro, man. So let's go ahead and let's play it, and then we'll wrap up the show right after this.
All right, Dr. A. Hey, Dave, thanks, brother. And thanks again for all you.
That was our very own Sports Dwork, bringing you all the sports news and entertainment you need. Thanks again for listening in. We hope you enjoyed Sports with the Sports Dwork, David Dwork. Now, don't be a real dork. The show's not over. Keep listening. Here are Dr. Ray and Manuel T. Ferrero III.
All right, so we're back.
I'm so ashamed of both of you, man. I am so ashamed, man. How could you guys?
Why is that?
Hey, the Heat are the best team in the East. They're the best team in the NBA. No matter what, it doesn't matter. What's wrong with you guys, bro? It's amazing.
Hey,
it's amazing. I can't even stand you guys right now.
Hey, man, listen. We're not saying they're not, and we're not saying we don't love them. We're just saying let's just don't say that they're going to win the East right off the bat. And then the same, because otherwise what's going to happen? You're going to get all depressed, and you're going to be like, oh, I can't believe I was a Heat fan, and now they suck, and now I don't want to even get in my LeBron jersey.
Another NBA championship. We're going to win it all, man. What's wrong with you guys? And it all starts tonight against the Washington Wizards.
All right. Well, yeah, tune in, guys. Watch the Heat. Always support your local fans. Want to thank your local sports, you guys are the fans, and hopefully you're fans of our show here as well, too. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, at Dr. Ray T, at ISPSO, at Manuel Ferrero, and at David Dwork. Give us a shout. Want to thank Jen Holt for coming on the show tonight from We Are War Paint. And again, guys, we'll be back next week with more great stuff. Tune in next week on the Hot Corner, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, everybody, have a great one. Be well. Enjoy football. Take it easy on the beer and the wings. Get some exercise. And we'll see you next week on the Hot Corner. Thanks, guys.
You've just heard the Hot Corner Show on the ISPS Radio Podcast Network with the softball-playing chiropractor and official chiropractor of ISPS, Dr. Ray Tolmos, and Commissioner of International Slow Pitch Softball, Manuel T. Ferrero III. Remember to follow the show and hosts on Twitter and Facebook at ISPSO, at DRRAYT. We hope you enjoyed the show and invite you to listen in to Dr. Ray and Manuel T. Ferrero III each and every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on the International Slow Pitch Softball Radio Podcast channel at ISPSradio.com.